In New York City, in Cooper Union, Jewish students were told to hide in the attic from far left extremists who are chanting free, free Palestine. I would argue that many of these people overtly support Hamas. I try to draw a distinction between those who care about Palestine and those who support Hamas. But what do we see from these protest groups in New York City? They refer to Hamas as the resistance. When they're saying free, free Palestine and from the river to the sea, they're chanting the exact same thing as Hamas. Maybe it's not fair to claim that all these people support, terror and stuff like this, but a lot of them do. In this story, we talked about it last night. We have some developments. Students were locked in the library as the far left was banging on the door. Some of these students the far left were carrying sticks, like small wooden sticks for some reason. I don't know. They weren't flagpoles. They didn't have flags on them. I believe it's fair to say that if the doors were opened, the Jewish students would have been mercilessly beaten. Why? Because I've been to events like this. And I know that immediately you're going to get a bunch of pro-Israel, pro-Palestine. I'm not even talking about Israel-Palestine. I am talking about the far left in this country and Jewish students who are forced to hide from the far left. Have your arguments about Palestine and Israel. It doesn't matter for this segment. Just whatever is going on in the Middle East has nothing to do with American leftists threatening and terrorizing other students. Here's the story. The Daily Mail says a group of Jewish students were forced to flee a braying mob of pro-Palestine activists inside a New York City college on Wednesday, locking themselves in a library while the crowd hammered on the door. Ugly scenes unfolded. They were chanting free, free Palestine. Here's the video. Let's play it for you. Here we go. So that's one of the videos where you can hear them banging on the door. Here's another clip. I don't know if you can see some of the students that were pro-Palestine mob, they call it, chanting free, free Palestine. Some of them have signs, but some of them were carrying sticks. It's possible the sticks they were carrying were from signs. I'm not trying to act like they were coming outside with weapons or anything. Upstairs, a group of Jewish students had taken refuge in the library. The mob can be heard pounding on the door. This is Cooper Union. I think anybody who's been in New York knows where this is. Big college area. I think you might be able to see in this video some of the sticks they're carrying. I don't know. It's hard to see. There's like one or two. They say outside the college on Wednesday evening, a passerby could be seen tearing away a pro-Palestine sign, which was placed next to the posters highlighting the plight of those kidnapped. The sign said, "Killing children is justified." NYPD officers could be seen entering the building and were standing outside. I want to break this down for you. Okay? I'm America. You want to have an argument about Israel, Palestine? Whatever, man. Stop foreign funding. Here in the United States, you have far leftists celebrating Hamas and then complaining that Israel's killing children. Hamas killed a bunch of children. Hamas killed a bunch of civilians. Hamas kidnapped a bunch of people, and the photos are horrifying. We get it. Will Chamberlain has an excellent tweet. He says, they call for gun control to take away our weapons while also celebrating what Hamas did. We're not stupid. I'd like to give you this tweet from Jake Novak. Jake Novak says his profile's dad, Jake Novak, New York. He says, a couple key highlights from my interview with a major eyewitness to the incident. Cooper U. Dean said before the protest that he could not stop it because it was not slated to enter the school property, which it obviously did. NYPD was called as soon as the protesters stormed the main Cooper Union building, but did nothing. Librarians bolted the doors and approached the identifiable Jewish students and told them they could hide in the attic if they wanted to. Welcome to the modern era. The far left right now. I just want to, I don't care about the Zionists, whatever arguments you'd make. Hamas killed a bunch of civilians. Then Israel responds and the left says, but they're killing children. Excuse me? You know, these pro-Palestine protesters are cheering on Hamas having killed children, then complaining that Israel's killed children. And the funny thing I hear a lot is they say things like, but Israel kills more. And I'm like, what is the number, the utilitarian argument they make have to do with the morality on killing anybody? Nothing. Killing children is bad. I don't care who's doing it. But you can't come out and celebrate the death of children and then cry crocodile tears to me that Israel's killing children. I think y'all are evil people. I'd like Israel to stop bombing Gaza. I really would. I don't know the solution. Hamas is firing rockets. Israel just launched their ground invasion. I don't have the answers. But I will say it explicitly to these far leftists. When y'all cheer for Hamas and then cry about Israel, your words mean nothing to me. You are celebrating the death of innocents while pretending to care about the death of innocents. Me, I actually care about all the innocent people that are being killed. I want it all to stop. I wish Hamas wasn't flying in and killing a bunch of civilians. The problem? It's war. There's no simple answer. And you know what? I don't know why the U.S. should be involved. Ben Shapiro does. He's concerned about World War III. I see his point. But I think it's simple. These people are never going to stop fighting over this land because Hamas isn't going to negotiate peace. Hamas's charter originally said that they wanted to end Israel. Black Lives Matter says they want to end Israel. So, look, the far left lies. It's what they do. And, I have a lot of friends who had to delete a lot of tweets. I cannot stand Israel derangement syndrome. Let me explain what Israel derangement syndrome is. And we'll start by saying many children have died in Gaza for a long time. Many innocent civilians have died in Gaza for a long time. They call it collateral damage. That's the name for it. And they get mad when you say, and they're like, no, call it murder. Collateral damage is when civilians are killed because of military actions. That's what's happening. All of it is bad. We don't want any civilians dead, and there needs to be a solution. Fact. Hamas, also bad, killed a bunch of civilians. I think it's fair to point out, in this current circumstance, I ain't going back in time. On October 7th, Hamas killed a bunch of civilians indiscriminately. Israel then launched a bunch of airstrikes on Hamas targets, which resulted in the death of civilians. Two completely different things. Both bad, one evil. Returning fire on military targets, resulting in collateral damage, is a horrifying tragedy. Intentionally invading Israel and killing civilians and children is malicious evil. Then the left comes out and says, oh no, they're killing civilians in Gaza. I say, oh yeah, Hamas killed a bunch of Israeli civilians too. But they cheered for that. You see the point? They're going to come out and say, you only care about when Israelis are killed. Well, I care about when they're all killed, but you're cheering for the death. You're cheering for the dead Israelis and you're crying for the dead Palestinians. I'm actually crying for both dead. And Hamas did not have to do this. They did not have to kill civilians. So don't give me that. When you celebrate rocket fire over Tel Aviv, don't give me that. I ain't buying it. When I see the far left chase a bunch of young Jews into a library, have to lock the door and tell them to go hide in the attic, I'm like, we know who the evil ones are here. Ron Coleman made a really good point. You see, the problem we have here is there are people who are like, Palestine overwhelmingly supports Hamas, and Hamas is not Palestine. Yet these protesters in New York, they actually among themselves say the opposite. They say we are the resistance. These students in New York are not Israeli. You see the point? The protesters who are banging on that door and screaming because of these Jewish students were doing it because they were Jewish, not because they were Israeli. They were not Israeli students. At least that's the reporting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of them was a dual citizen or something, but the reporting is Jewish students who are American were chased into a room, told to hide in the attic. The doors were barred in fear for their safety, not because they were Israeli. I don't care to hear these arguments from these people who just hate Israel so much they lose their minds. I don't care. You want to have a conversation about Burma, Myanmar? You don't? What's with your obsession with Israel? Could it be it's the Holy Land, perhaps? Could it be that the U.S. sends money there? We send money to a lot of places. Ain't nobody talking about Sudan. Ain't nobody talking about Yemen. Unhinged derangement over Israel. You know, it really bothers me that people so blindly believe all the war propaganda. I don't care if it comes from Israel or Palestine, but the obsession people have. It's like you can't have a real conversation with people. Hey, Hamas flew over the barriers, killed a bunch of civilians. And they're like, well, they were the resistance. And I'm like, oh, Israel's returning fire and civilians are dying. How could they do that? They're evil. Spare me, dude. They come to me and they're like, did you know that Israel killed X many people, but only X many Israelis died? And I'm like, you act as though the amount of people dying defines morality. One person dying is the problem. And then they take the utilitarian approach. But look, I get it. I get it. You get it. The far left is lying about everything. That's what they do. It's disgusting stuff, man. You get it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.